Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Athlete of the Week, we got Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey.
And Courtney Morse, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Glad to get you on. I've been trying to reel you in for a while, I feel like. Well, it hasn't been that long, but.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on here. I listen every week, and I love keeping up with your guys' stories and everything like that. So this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to get you, because you're the first official person who agreed to the 100-mile bike race, and I have to just open with that. So, yes. And that's happening.
Yeah, I can't wait. I just found out yesterday, my true passion is gravel bike riding. In Kansas, we have a lot of dirt roads, and you have a much less chance of getting hit by a car, maybe a tractor, but not a car. And so there's the world premiere gravel races here in town. And I found out yesterday that I did not get into it. My wife got into hers. My mom got into hers. My stepdad got into one, but I didn't get in. So I've got to find something else to train for. And so this will be a good substitute in the meantime.
Well, I mean, you're coming out this way in April, man. So you should just bring the bike. We can ride around somewhere.
Love it.
Someone's got to hold the bags during the race.
Yeah, you're holding your wife's go bag for.
Yes, exactly right. I'll go meet her at the 50-mile mark.
I mean, well, let's get into it just with some intros, who you are, what you do for a living, how you train. And you have a pretty interesting, background athletically. So I'd like to get into that as well. But we'll start with the basics, man. Who you are, what you do, and how you train.
Yeah, my name is Courtney. I live in the Wichita area. I live just north of there, a few miles in a small town called Sedgwick. I'm a physical therapist. I'm kind of a out-of-network model, so I work with a lot of athletes, which makes it really rewarding. I don't have to deal with people's nonsense. They just come in, they're really motivated to get stuff done. They do their homework, they listen. And so, I get to just talk about this stuff all day long, and I get to work on people that have real goals, like half marathons. I worked on an ultra marathoner today, and sometimes it's just people that want to pick up their grandkids and play pickleball. So that's a lot of fun for me. I've a wife of nearly 15 years. I've got 2 kiddos. My son is 10, and my daughter is going to be 8 in a couple of days. So it's a lot of fun for us. I've been at this practice myself for 2 years. And then my wife recently, she was a teacher for 13. In May, she quit her job. She kind of joined my business, and now she does nutrition coaching and is running her own business on the inside of that. So those were 2 things that really meld well together. So it's a heck of a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm on I'm doing some cycling and some endurance work, which is for me really not what I'm proficient at. It's not what I gravitate towards. I played a little bit of college football and junior college football. So I'm more kind of like a power athlete. So I like moving quickly, and to be on a bike or to be on a run for several hours at a time was not initially in my wheelhouse. That was kind of viewed as punishment. And so to finally accepted this and kind of really enjoy it, it's totally, it's kind of a totally new experience.
That's awesome, man. So why the transition? Why going from more of a power-based athlete to, pursuing endurance a little bit more?
Well, it seems like it's something that's a little bit more sustainable. I work on sometimes people that are in their 50s or 60s and sometimes 70s that are doing triathlons and just doing these amazing things. And, I don't see a lot of rugby players out there in their 70s. And I was like, well, this is something I can do for a long period of time. It's something that, if done properly, there's not a lot of injury for risk or risk for injury. And so, plus there's always the, just kind of the movement meditation side of things. So just kind of clearing your head and going out for a ride and just enjoying kind of the scenery and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was not a really, firm decision like, hey, I'm going to go do this thing. It was just kind of this gradual transition and kind of building on it from there.
Yeah. And that movement meditation part you mentioned, it, I really feel like that's becoming so much of a bigger piece for me. Like I haven't been able to ride my bike. I've been doing Concept 2 bike erg stuff in my garage for most of the stuff on the Endure track. But this past Sunday, it was pretty decent weather. Still had to wear like a windbreaker, but it was my first ride this year. I know we're kind of new into the year, but first ride this year, I did like a 75, 80 minute ride. And it's like one of my favorite things now.
Yeah.
Like I still enjoy strength training and everything, but actually being on a bike outside is like, it's just such an awesome thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when and we'll get into this a little bit more later, but when you look at the science about these things and just being out in nature and like what that does for, as the sun's going down or the sun that's coming up, like what that does for your body in terms of, hormonal changes and stuff like that, it's really phenomenal. And it's really kind of what we were meant to do. So it's a lot of fun for me to get out there and spend some time with, and something, especially with like riding your bike. Your kids can do it. Your mom can do it. Your stepdad can do it. Like everybody can do it. And, you just get to pick your pace and have as much fun as you want.
It's awesome, man. Well, what is your setup like? Where are you training?
So the town I live in is about 12 or 1,500 people. It's technically a garage gym, but it's not my garage gym. They have converted like a former city building into like the quote unquote fitness center. And so they've like piecemealed all these different pieces of equipment together. I was really excited last fall when they got like a big rogue rack. So we have a rogue rack. We've got, I found, an Airdyne not too long ago at a garage sale. And we've got a rower in there and just a couple of barbells and some space. And that's all it is. And I see some of these people on the community and see their garage setups and I'm so jealous, but it's a nice warm up. It's a half-mile run there and back. So it's nice that I get a little bit of actual built-in community as well too. We've got a good group of people that are in there at 5:30 every morning. So it's kind of a cool thing to have this, bare bones kind of garage gym, but it's kind of a community center too.
Yeah, I think that's I forgot who we had. Maybe it was Lisa Kelly back in the day or someone. They just kind of started their own. That's like they started their own gym that way, just like getting equipment and like putting it in a space.
People would bring things.
Yeah, like here, I'll donate a barbell. And then by the end of it, they had a community garage gym. I think that's a really cool community thing.
Somebody just built, some boxes for box jumps and Olympic lifting. And, I took in like all of our heaviest kettlebells and like everybody just brings in something, medicine balls or whatever. And so it's kind of whatever we want it to be. It's a pretty cool setup.
All right. So what are your goals right now? Goals, accomplishments, results, things like that, like anything you care to share with what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. This year, I really wanted to kind of getting more into this. And I've been in the Garage Gym Athlete programming for about a year. And I really wanted to go out and just basically PR every race. I've talked about this a little bit before is because, for me to go PR a deadlift or PR a back squat or anything, like I'm 38 years old, like that's not going to happen anymore, but I can absolutely go out and PR my 5K or a half marathon. So every distance that I have done in the last year was actually pretty cool for me because I rode my longest bike ride. I did a 100-mile bike ride. I climbed my tallest peak. We went on our longest hike. I ran my longest run. Like all those things came all in 1 year. And so this year I want to do those things, but just faster. So I want to PR my half marathon. I would like to PR, a 100-mile bike race and just get out and do these other things, but just be more prepared for them and feel like I can, recover quickly and just, so I'm doing the Endure track right now. And I've never done anything that was more taxing cardiovascularly when you're lifted with a barbell on your back. It is so miserable.
Yeah. No. So you, when you're riding 100 miles with me, you're going for PR.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I
So,
gotta stay on top of things. I can't slack off.
well, I don't. So this is with my, I am 6'1" and like 200 pounds. So endurance is not really in my, genotype. So, I'm just perfectly mediocre at all of these things. Like my only goal on these is to like finish in the top third. Like if it's a 10-mile run, yeah, the top third. Like, so I'm never going to be fast at any of these things. I'm never going to be proficient at any of these things. So it's still fun to go out and, and have some kind of time in mind and go out and set it hard. So I don't remember what your time was last year at the bike race, but
I feel like I don't really either. I need to look it
it's
up.
like 5.5 to 3 to 6, 5.5 to 6.
Yeah, it was close to 6.
Yeah. Then the tire issue. So
we could go faster. I know with you there, and then I don't know if you caught the athlete of the week, Greg Eisenhower. He's going to be there. He's the one who actually scares me. He's really trying to sandbag this whole thing because he's like I'm in my 50s and blah blah blah. But dude, you've done an Ironman triathlon, and I know he's listening to this. That's why I'm calling him out on it.
Yeah,
he's gonna crush it. His resting heart rate is 34. I'm
intimidated by anybody that's doing burpees with a rucksack on. Like, no way. We're not buying it, Greg. We're not buying it.
Yeah. So what were you doing pre-Garage Gym Athlete, man?
So I did CrossFit for a couple of years and I liked that and enjoyed it. My wife and I kind of took a sabbatical. She and I both quit our jobs 3 or 4 years ago, and we traveled around the country for a year and kind of took our kids and homeschooled them. And I worked as like a contract physical therapist. So we kind of got out of everything, every kind of routine. And that's kind of when we got into this kind of health kick and this initiative. And so when we got back, my CrossFit gym wasn't going to stay open for very long. And I was kind of at that point, like a little bit over it. Like I'd kind of seen as far as it was going to take me. So I was really just going up to our community gym and doing like, WOD generator stuff, which is a really good way to level off very quickly. Because, like you're never doing anything that you don't like to do. You're never doing anything hard. You're like, 45 minutes now, I'm skipping that one. And so that's where I was at. I was really stuck. And so I was so excited to find this programming because, just to have some excuse to do something that you hate. And like, I think that's the name of the game, is just to kind of push and do things that are challenging and taxing, even though you don't like them.
Yeah. That randomness. I mean, I don't know, and I know a lot of people, they like to super ultra simplify fitness. Like just do something and move. And I think that's phenomenal advice if you're doing nothing.
Right.
And I really think that that's who that advice should be aimed for. But the second you want to do anything, like you're talking about a PR, if the words PR come up, you should probably be on a training program. So yeah, I think if you have no goals and you just want to, like you said, level off real fast, there's nothing wrong with random. But if you are just a little bit more serious than that, I think that's when a program comes into place. Yeah,
absolutely. It's been really gratifying. Like even just yesterday, kind of doing pull-ups to set, new percentages, like, I just got one more. And it's not something I've been training for, but it's just been being consistent and showing up every day and having good programming there has helped out so much.
Dude, I want to hear a little bit more about this traveling the country for a year. And where were you? Were you in like an Airstream or something?
We took a camper along with us. So there was a point where when I was working at a kind of a traditional in-practice network, and I was kind of butting heads with the boss, and they have bills to pay. They're pushing for more volume, but I was kind of pushing for more quality. And I realized like it was just a fight I was not going to win. So, I kind of slowly laid this thing out here to my wife and like took like the course of a year to convince her to like, all right, well, what if we just did this? And so my son was in second grade, like, cool, we're not even at multiplication yet. We can do that. My daughter had another year of preschool, and like, yeah, she's fine. We can do that. And so I got like a physical therapy license in Oregon. And then I like hired a recruiting company, and they say like, okay, here's the options. And so we quit our jobs. We got the kids in the camper. We're driving out to, we're at the Tetons, and we're driving through the Columbia River Gorge, and the company calls and they say like, hey, how about Ashland? Like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm going to keep driving because it's 100-mile-an-hour wind. Like as you're going through the gorge. And so it's really profound for us. Like we spent 6 months in a couple of different spots in Oregon. Then we went to Tennessee for 3 months, and then we ended up in North Carolina for the last little bit. And then took this nice long drive back home, and we got settled and situated back into our regular routine. And we were both like, oh no, we can't do this anymore. So you get this newfound sense of freedom, and you get this, you kind of created this really tight bond with your family, and to get plugged right back into the work week, we just couldn't handle it. And so our game plan was that we had this nice house out in the country. And so we were going to sell this house in the country, move into town, pay off the house that we're living in like 3 years, and then get back out on the road, because it's hard to pay for your mortgage on the road and pay for your rent while you're out there as well too. And it was exactly 1 month after we closed on this house that a former colleague of mine said, hey, I've got this business practice, do you want to see my patients? I said, yeah, send them over. And she's like, no. And that was kind of like the first 5 or 10 patients of mine that started. And that's how I kind of got into my own practice. But, we just, we were living in VRBOs at 3 months at a time. It was just the most profound experience that you can ever take your kids on. And so my daughter is in second grade now, and she's like, well, I want the same teacher that Henry had. And it's meaning my wife. And it's like, it might be a minute before we get to travel the country again. But that's kind of ultimately the plan, is like to build this practice up and then let my wife's nutrition coaching take over, and we could just go live in a van again.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. That was kind of like why we moved to North Carolina a year or two ago. I mean, we probably should have done what you did. That sounded a little bit smarter. Instead, we were like, let's move all of our stuff because that's easier. But it was our last opportunity, like before the kids, got serious in school and stuff. And we always wanted to go out there and live there for longer periods of time and check it out. But dude, that sounds awesome. It sounds like a great family experience.
It was amazing. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't think of it or refer to it and somehow, and, just kind of somehow map like how we're going to do this next or whatever. And so that's part of the big reason that we started our own business, is to like be able to take off as much time as we want and set the rules, how we want to live by them. And so, of course, I mean, we hammer down, we work hard and we work long hours, but there's also times where, we take off big, long stretches for Christmas or spring break or whatever as well too. So,
dude, I don't know if you saw it. This was a long time ago. This was when I was more into CrossFit as well, which may have overlapped when you were doing it. But so are you familiar with Matt Chan?
No.
Okay. So Matt Chan was a CrossFit Games athlete. He's now a firefighter full-time, I believe, but he did something similar. He doesn't have any kids though. It was just him and his wife, and they wanted to travel the country. But if you could pull up
he built a rig into his van or something.
You're just straight stealing my story. I was saying the story out of my mouth.
I guessed it.
That's what he did.
Yes. Great guess.
Anyway, yeah, he did. He built it into like his truck and like the RV and stuff. Like he had like a custom built rig and stuff. So the next time you do it,
yes,
you have to set up something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think all these companies make it easy too with like PRX performance and stuff. Like you could attach stuff anywhere.
Heck yeah. That's a great idea.
I mean, what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
Honestly, I thought initially there was going to be this bike race that I did last summer, but I really think we climbed for my wife and I's 14th anniversary. We went out to Colorado. We went to Leadville, and we are going to climb a 14er for our 14th anniversary. And, we're from Kansas. There's not an elevation going on here. We were both in reasonably good shape, but we got to – it was my wife and my brother that also works with me. We got to about 12,500 feet. My brother drops out. Like, he doesn't cardio right now. Like he's training for powerlifting meets and stuff like that. So he fell behind. And then my wife gets up to about 13 and she's like, I'm done. I was like, okay, well, I just thought that I would turn around and go down with her. And she's like, well, no, this is like one of the things on your bucket list you need to finish. And then I hadn't thought about that as we're going up. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess I'll go. And there's parts of this mountain where you're like willing yourself to like take 10 steps at a time. And you're like so out of breath. You like stop and catch your breath. It's so intimidating because you watch like 13-year-olds and 9-year-old girls like traipsing past you. And you're like, oh, and you're lifting your legs manually with your hands. But like once you got to the top, it's like, 70 degrees and sunny and calm. It was so worth it. But like there were stretches of it, like for an hour where you're like, this is just hell. I should turn around and go back. And so that was, I think, the toughest kind of physical thing that I've ever done. And just to watch 9-year-olds right next to you hammer it out is really, was really belittling.
That elevation just hammers you.
Man, no chance. I have no chance.
Kansas.
That killed us on our Cirque Series race, and then you just keep climbing and get worse and worse.
Yes, exactly right. There's no recovery.
All right, man. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
So I think there's a couple of things. I think that, at least from where I'm at now, in terms of like the endurance thing, is to pick out something that's really long, something that you don't think that you can do, and then just to be like ferocious about, making micro goals and just setting these little small things up to where, if you're going to run a marathon or you're going to do a triathlon, or you're going to do these things, it's like pick out something that's pretty audacious and then kind of gradually build up to it. And so for me, it's always like a time thing. It's like I can go crush a workout in an hour and, recover reasonably well. But if, I'm on the bike for 8 or 10 hours or something like that, or I'm hiking up a mountain for 7 hours, like there's a lot of times where you are meeting yourself on that type of thing. So I think something long and strenuous is always the toughest thing to do.
I agree. I think those are the heavy load, long distance. That's my definition for building mental toughness physically right there.
Yeah.
All right. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'm going to cheat on this one. I've been thinking about this quite a bit. And I'm going to go off script and say my sleep number bed, because I know these are conversations that I get to have with my clients and patients all day long, is, about their health and about their wellness and their sleep and their diet and their recovery. And the biggest one, you just hear podcast after podcast about why you should be sleeping. And, if you're going to skip a workout, sleep instead. And there was a personal story of mine. That was when I got this sleep number bed. I did not realize that for 10 years when I was tossing and turning and never having a dream in my life, that I was just sleeping terribly for a decade. And I get this bed and right away I'm having these big vivid dreams every single night of the week. And I was like, oh, I've slept like garbage for an entire decade of my life. And so in terms of training, everything that I do after I get out of bed is going to be so much easier if I have that piece of equipment with me. So whether it's running shoes or a bike or a barbell, fine, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to have that bed no matter what. So
is Sleep Number where it's at, man? Because I'm in the market for a new mattress. We have a really old one we got, close when we got married, and it's crushing us both right now. We're we really need a new mattress. So I'm in the market.
Of course, they're not a sponsor or
right. There's no sponsorship here. Yeah.
I really like it. And the main reason was because, whenever you have a bed, it's infinitely adjustable, 1,000 different beds. If you hate it, you're kind of stuck with it. Nobody really returns these beds very often. You're like, oh yeah, 100-day sleep guarantee. Nobody's returning mattresses. So if I'm sleeping on this thing, and my wife hates it on the other side, now you have to please 2 people. So they're adjustable, and I sleep on a much softer bed than my wife. My butt is basically touching the baseboard every morning, and hers is really firm. And you can't find that kind of mattress anywhere else. So that, for me, it makes a lot of sense, and it adjusts to you. So I didn't mean to go into a 10-minute plug about Sleep Number, but
no, man, I mean, it's everyone knows this is unaffiliated podcast. So I mean, if we want to talk about brands, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
And our book for the month is about sleep anyway. So.
I know. Absolutely. I got to get that one checked out.
Dude, I'm all with you. I've always said sleep was important, but to me, sleep important was about 7 hours, which is still plenty. But I decided several months ago, hey, I'm going to commit to 8 or more. And so now I'm averaging between 8 and 9.
Yeah. And
it's just that difference right there is game changer. An absolute game changer. I don't get tired during the day. I used to be just dead. Yeah. If I got 6 or 7 hours sleep, I'm really end of the day, I'm it's time for bed. But now every day I'm I guess I'll go to sleep, but I don't have trouble falling asleep either. But that 1 hour difference is huge. And I completely agree with you, man.
Well, I wake up at the same fixed time every day. So like between 4:30 and 5, like somewhere in there is when my natural rhythm goes. So I know if I'm going to get my 8 hours of sleep, I got to be in bed at 9:00.
Right.
And so there are a lot of times where, this is no joke, the kids are tucking me in like a burrito every single night. Like, it is the best sensation in the world to have your kids tuck you in. You should really try it. But I'm going to bed because that's how my rhythm works. And that's how I feel good the next day. Like, I don't require caffeine. I don't need it. I drink it because I kind of like coffee, but like, I'm not hammering, energy drinks all day. I wake up, I'm energized, I'm ready to go. And it's made such a difference in just the way I, train and perform and everything like that too.
Parent goals.
Our sponsor is Sleep.
Yep. Great sponsor.
Yeah. And Sleep and Blueberries. Joe, you have anything before I get to the last question?
What's one piece of equipment or something that your community gym could really use that everybody wants or you think would be best?
Well, so the one thing that I think we need is, we have a rower, but it's relatively junk, but it you can get by with it. That's a great question. I don't know. When you kind of get in the mentality like, hey, I'm going to make do, we could use probably a heavier kettlebell. I have a 53 pound. That's as heavy as I got. I need something like 72 pound kettlebell.
That's a really heavy sandbag.
Yes. Something a little bit heavier, but yeah, it's nice when everybody gets to chip in and
such an easy one, man. You just want a heavier kettlebell, like
just
a tube food.
Stuff. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Doesn't even cost a lot of money.
That's it.
It's awesome.
We're low maintenance in Kansas.
That's great. All right, man. What is the best advice you have out there for all the Garage Gym athletes listening?
Besides sleep?
Besides sleep.
Oh, okay. I think that's the...
you can use that.
Well, start with sleep. I think the other thing is just to find your tribe, right? For the Garage Gym athletes, it's really cool. Like, there's I've never seen an online group of people that is so kind of dedicated to it. We've got our own little group of exercisers. We've got some running groups or whatever, but it makes exercising so much easier to have some accountability, to have a reason to get out of bed when it's snowing and 28 degrees outside, and just to, that social aspect of things. When you look at books like Blue Zones and things like that social aspect of things is so important. And we just know that, finding like-minded individuals is such an important thing for, just for our own mental health, and on top of it, for our exercising. So that would be my other, sleep and find other kick-ass people like you.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that, Courtney. I can't wait to crush a 100-mile bike race with you.
Yes,
it's going to be fun.
I'm so excited.
And then ride with you around here in April will be fun too. I'll show you a few routes.
Sweet.
But yeah, until next time, man.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.